August 28, 2013. Dubai International Airport, Gate C-14. A woman in a hijab boards a flight to Tehran with a carry-on bag and a laptop. No red flags, no scene. She hands over her boarding pass and disappears into the jet bridge. And with her go the real names of undercover CIA officers, the identities of human intelligence sources embedded across the Middle East, and the classified details of two covert programs the United States had spent years building in silence. The laptop goes with her. That's the object that matters here. She had spent 15 years hunting people exactly like herself. How do you radicalize a counterintelligence agent? And what happens when that agent turns the tools of surveillance back on the colleagues who trusted her? Monica Witt was born in El Paso in 1979. Her mother died just before she enlisted in the Air Force in 1997. She entered the service alone and trained alone, 14 months at the Defense Language Institute in Monterrey, grinding through classified Farsi instruction until she tested as certified. By 2003, she was flying aboard RC-135 rivet joint reconnaissance aircraft over Iraq, collecting signals intelligence at altitude while the invasion burned below her. She earned the Air Medal. She was good at her job. She moved into the Air Force Office of Special Investigations as a counterintelligence special agent. She was read into a highly classified special access program, 2 successive iterations, referred to in federal documents only as Project A and Project B. These programs housed the true names of active human sources, the identities of officers running those sources, and the operational details of ongoing counterintelligence work targeting Iran. She didn't just know these programs existed. She worked them directly. She separated from active duty in 2008. She moved into contracting, first Booz Allen Hamilton, then Chenega Federal Systems, where she served as the desk officer for Project A and Project B. Her clearances didn't lapse until August 2010. The access ran long. In February 2012, Witt flew to Tehran for a conference called Hollywoodism, sponsored by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. She attended. When she landed back in the United States, FBI agents intercepted her. They told her directly. Iranian intelligence was targeting her. They warned her not to disclose sensitive information. They let her go. Why does an institution built to detect exactly this kind of threat choose the warning over the wire? And what happens when the subject they release goes straight back? The FBI's calculation in 2012 followed a standard playbook: surveil, confront, assess, monitor. Arresting someone for attending a conference is legally untenable. What you do is warn them, flag the file, and watch what comes next. The problem is that Witt didn't just ignore the warning. She read it as a timer. She knew what the FBI was watching for. She had been trained to think exactly like the agent sitting across from her. So when she went back to Tehran in February 2013, she went knowing the precise shape of the surveillance she was walking through, and she walked through it anyway. By July 2013, she was on Facebook, not to reconnect. She was building target packages, dossiers so detailed they included family structures, software preferences, and shared professional histories that only an insider could know. On August 25th, she emailed her resume, her conversion narrative, and her military separation papers to an American-born presenter for Iran's state-run Press TV. Those documents were forwarded to an IRGC-linked intelligence address within hours. 3 days later, she boarded the flight to Dubai. The laptop came with her. Iranian officials met her with housing, equipment, a salary, and immediate operational tasking. Why does a hostile intelligence service trust a defector who might just as easily be a double agent? And what did Witt do to make herself indispensable before she ever landed? The IRGC had been watching Witt for at least a year before she boarded that plane. The Facebook profiling, the conference attendance, the Press TV contact, all of it ran through channels the Iranians controlled. By the time she arrived, she wasn't an unknown. She was a pre-vetted asset who had already demonstrated operational value. She hadn't just offered herself, she had delivered a sample. The resume she sent carried her clearance history. The separation papers confirmed her access windows, and the target packages she built from memory, names, faces, relationships, professional histories. Those were the proof of life that no double agent could fake without blowing the entire operation. She didn't arrive empty-handed. She arrived with the laptop. She told them everything about Project A, everything about Project B, The code names, the objectives, the real identities of the people running the operations. The kind of information that doesn't just compromise one operation, it unravels years of infrastructure. Safe houses became known, sources became exposed. The phrase used in classified intelligence reporting for this kind of damage is catastrophic. It rarely gets used. It was used here. From January 2014 through May 2015, 4 IRGC-assigned cyber specialists executed her target packages. They built a fake Facebook profile using the photographs and biographical details of a real former colleague, someone still inside the intelligence community. Because Witt knew who this person was friends with, what they'd worked on, who they trusted, the fake profile landed clean. Former colleagues accepted the request. Then came the links, the attachments, the spyware. The laptop on the airplane had become a weapon, and Witt hadn't just defected. She had handed the IRGC a roadmap of every person she'd ever worked beside. She was indicted by a federal grand jury in February 2019, operating under the Iranian aliases Fatemeh Zahra and Nargis Witt. She has not been in U.S. custody since. Now consider what 2026 looks like. On February 28, 2026, the United States entered open warfare with Iran. Carrier strike groups, F-35s, F-15E Strike Eagles, an operation called Epic Fury. Israeli strikes in the opening phase killed several high-ranking Iranian officials, including Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Iran's internal security services went into emergency reorganization. The regime that had sheltered Witt for over a decade was fighting for its institutional survival. What happens to a protected defector when the government protecting her starts to fall apart? The answer is that her protection becomes a liability no one is managing. The people who controlled her housing, her salary, her operational tasking, some are dead, others are displaced. The organizational chain that kept her identity and location compartmentalized is now fractured. In a functioning intelligence service, that information is locked. In a service in emergency reorganization, it leaks, it moves. It ends up in the hands of people who have reason to sell it, trade it, or simply let it go in the chaos. On May 14, 2026, the FBI announced a $200,000 bounty for Monica Witt. The timing is not coincidental. The regime is fractured. The bounty is a signal to everyone in Tehran who knows where she is. That information is now more valuable than whatever it was worth yesterday. There is a version of this story where Witt surfaces in a diplomatic exchange, a bargaining chip in the fragile preliminary talks Trump announced the following day, the proposal for Iran to halt uranium enrichment for 20 years that Tehran refused to confirm publicly. There is a version where she surfaces in a courtroom. There is a version where she doesn't surface at all, and the laptop and everything on it remains in the hands of a government now fighting to exist. Monica Witt spent 15 years learning how to identify the vulnerabilities that hostile intelligence services exploit: loneliness, financial collapse, moral disillusionment, ideological drift. She studied those failure points so she could protect against them. Every single one of them applied to her. The FBI warned her in 2012. They identified the threat, sat across the table from it, and released it back into the world. The question counterintelligence professionals have never fully answered isn't how she got out. It's how many times they had a chance to stop her and chose the warning over the wire. The laptop is still out there, somewhere, in a city that's been at war for 3 months, in the hands of a regime whose leadership is partially dead and partially running, with the names of people who still don't know they're on it. The tools built to find people like Monica Witt never caught her. The war might.